He would spend hours closeted in the study, talking in hushed tones to the walls, to the mirrors that seemed to watch their every move with an unnerving intensity. Sarah found cryptic notes scattered around the house, scribbled in David's handwriting, yet filled with words that chilled her to the bone. He's watching me, he's copying me. I can't escape his gaze. Fear, now a constant companion, gnawed at her sanity. She tried to talk to David, to understand the change that had come over him, but he would brush off her concerns, his eyes holding a flicker of something cold and unfamiliar. Section 6. The Walls Have Eyes. One evening, Sarah found David standing in front of the grand mirror in the hallway, his reflection mimicking his every move with eerie precision. But there was something different, something unsettling about the reflection's eyes. They seemed to burn with a malevolent light, a knowing glint that sent shivers down her spine. "David?" she asked, her voice trembling. He didn't respond. He just kept staring at his reflection, a strange smile playing on his lips. It was at that moment that Sarah realized the terrifying truth. She wasn't just imagining things. The mirrors were not reflecting David. They were reflecting something else, something that had taken root in him, something dark and insidious. The legend of the Mirror Man, once dismissed as a foolish myth, now slammed into her with the force of a physical blow. Section 7. Trapped in a house of mirrors. Panic welled up inside her, threatening to consume her. She had to escape, to run, to get away from this house, from the mirrors that seemed to watch her every move. But as she turned to flee, she realized with a growing sense of horror that she was trapped. The house, once a sanctuary, had become a prison, its walls closing in on her, the mirrors reflecting her terror back at her, multiplying her fear. She raced from room to room, her heart pounding against her ribs like a frantic bird trapped in a cage. Each room held a mirror, each surface reflecting back a distorted image of her growing panic. The house was alive, she realized, pulsating with a dark energy that seemed to feed off her fear. And the mirrors were its eyes, watching, waiting, anticipating. Section 8. When reflections turn malicious. Driven to the brink, fueled by a primal need to survive, Sarah grabbed a heavy candlestick and smashed it against the nearest mirror. The sound of shattering glass reverberated through the house, the sharp, discordant notes hanging in the air like a scream. The reflection in the broken mirror rippled, distorted, and then, with a sickening crunch of glass, a figure emerged. It was David, or rather, a grotesque mockery of him. His features were twisted into a cruel parody, his eyes burning with malevolent glee. Shards of glass protruded from his skin like macabre jewels, reflecting the flickering candlelight in a grotesque display. The Mirror Man had crossed over, and he was hungry. Section 9. Shattered images, broken lives. Sarah screamed, a raw, primal sound that echoed through the empty halls of the house. She backed away, her hand instinctively reaching for something, anything to defend herself. But the Mirror Man was upon her, his movements swift and unnatural, his touch cold as ice. She fought back, her fear giving way to a desperate surge of adrenaline, but it was no use. The Mirror Man was stronger, fueled by the dark energy that permeated the house. The struggle was brief, one-sided. The Mirror Man, his eyes blazing with triumph, dragged Sarah towards the largest mirror in the house, the one in the grand hallway. She caught a glimpse of her reflection, her face contorted in terror, before he shoved her through the looking glass into the cold, unforgiving darkness that lay beyond. Section 10. The Silence of Empty Reflections. Days later, the authorities arrived at the house on Hollow Creek Road, responding to a concerned neighbor's call. They found the place deserted, the furniture covered in dust-laden sheets, the air thick with the silence of abandonment. Mirrors, their surfaces reflecting nothing but emptiness, adorned the walls, their silent gazes seeming to follow the officers as they moved through the house. There was no sign of David or Sarah, no indication of what had transpired within those walls. The legend of the Mirror Man lived on in Ashton Falls, whispered in hushed tones around crackling fires, a chilling reminder that some doors are best left unopened, some reflections best left undisturbed. For the mirrors in the old house on Hollow Creek Road still stood, their glassy eyes watching, waiting for the next unsuspecting soul to stumble into their gaze. And in their depths, if one looked closely enough, they might see a fleeting glimpse of two figures trapped forever in the mirror's cold embrace.